if we could, we do have a rule, if you want to start video anytime, it's great. We do have a rules reform meeting at 6:30, so that's why I'm trying to just dive right in.
Sure.
So, welcome. Is there a motion on last meeting's minutes?
Take attendance.
Attendance, sure, I'll take attendance. See who's here. Thanks.
Ms.
And then we'll make
Brodsky?
that.
I'm here, really I am.
All right, you are here. Cunningham? You're here as well. Berger?
Here.
Feeney?
Here.
Kuhn?
Here.
Mayor is excused this evening. Peter?
Here.
Ricard? And Whalen?
She's in the hallway.
Oh, okay. I was like, she was just
She'll
here.
be next.
It'll be 8 present when she comes back.
That's fine, that's great. Is there a motion for last?
Now that I'm president, I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Passes unanimously. Is Andrew here? So we don't talk?
Oh, I'm sorry, Andrew Bellinger.
Oh,
Yeah,
Andrew
no,
Bellinger.
I thought you meant Andrew.
Yeah, I thought you did too.
Oh, no,
that,
no.
gotcha, all right. Thank you.
All
We're
right.
jumping right to item 12. Mr. Ballinger, welcome. Would you like to talk to us a little bit about this?
Yes,
Thanks for
ma'am.
opening
Thank
the
you
door for me.
very much. So I'm here before you tonight to ask for authorization and support for the adoption of an information security notification policy. Basically, the genesis of this policy is to help Albany County remain compliant with the New York State SHIELD Act. And this policy is simply outlined to develop that notification procedure for Albany County employees as well as individuals around the county that have identified a perceived or confirmed information security incident.
Any questions for Mr. Ballinger?
I make a motion to move this.
Second.
I guess there's no questions. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Um, Back at the beginning. Item 2, table at request of sponsor. Item 3, table at request of sponsor. Item 4, table at request of sponsor. Item 5 is table pending public hearing. Item 6, table at request of sponsor. Item 7, table at request of sponsor. Item 8. Sure.
Item 8 is a public hearing for local IF, the local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending Chapter 106 of the Albany County Code, setting forth requirements for location of substance abuse treatment facilities within Albany County. Ms. McLean Lane is here this evening.
Thank you, Ms. McLean Lane. Welcome.
Thank you very much. So unfortunately, we've had a learned experience in my district about how substance use disorder treatment facilities are approved without public input. And so the intent of this legislation is to allow for a notification process so that all of the elected representatives are aware of that facility having been applied for in their community at the earliest possible time so that the public can have some level of input.
Okay, very good. What questions do we have? Ms. McLean? Yes, Mr.
Just a quick one. Where in the process do you ask people to make notification? Before there's a signed agreement or after?
So there's 2 different possible steps we could be talking about there. There could be a signed agreement like a lease, but to be able to get approval for that provider to operate, because OASIS does not get involved with the siting of facilities. What happens is that a application that is submitted to OASIS by whomever the provider is going to be, whatever company, is sent to the local governmental unit. And that local governmental unit for Albany County is our Department of Health Commissioner and his able staff. And
Health Commissioner?
Mental health.
mental health, I
Oh,
apologize,
okay.
yes,
That's
thank
what I
you.
was-
And then what happens is that within 10 days of that receipt, this local law stipulates that they must provide a copy of that application to the legislator, county legislature, that represents that. The adjoining, because it could be right on the edge of that legislative district, adjoining that district, in addition to any local municipal board, whether it be, town, village, et cetera, then to their state representatives as well. And it has to happen within 10 days. Additionally, a second notification goes out if there is a community services board or they have a subcommittee for substance use. If there is a meeting that has that facility on their agenda, there also needs to be a notice of that meeting to those state elected representatives. And it is my hope that then those representatives, if they properly represent their communities, will bring that to the attention of their communities.
Can I ask a question on this?
Certainly.
So, let me give you an example.
Sure.
The mayor in Cohoes negotiates somebody to put one on Remsen Street in Cohoes. What would happen in that case? How would we be notified? Would we find out about it?
Oh, absolutely you would, but they can't, I'm not sure how they can negotiate one.
Okay.
What happens is the application for that location or for that provider
Yeah.
goes to the LGU of Albany County first.
Okay.
And then they could sign an agreement to go into a building, but that may never get to you if they already meet the zoning requirements. So this ensures that any application that is made to Oasis, as soon as it comes to our local governmental unit, goes to all of those elected officials individually, not just one representative. It shouldn't just go to the clerk who may just give it to the mayor, and then the mayor puts it in a drawer.
That's right.
It specifically lays out every single person it has to go to, because we unfortunately ran into that situation in our community.
Right, yeah, because I heard stuff in the past where it could have happened in our community, Cohoes, so.
Yeah, so this ensures your notification.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Green?
Yeah, I think this is pretty, it's solid, because like, we had this in Albany where basically a methadone clinic, the Albany County's role is sort of to say, do we have an addiction problem, right? There's not much they can do besides saying there's an addiction problem, and we know there's addiction problems almost everywhere. So if something fits the zoning, then, and they get the thing from saying that there's an addiction problem in the county in general, or a need for that, Oasis can go ahead, the folks can sort of sneak in there without having to do it if the zoning approves for it. And what Albany learned was that methadone clinics and doctor's offices are zoned the same way. So if you allow a doctor's office, someone can get in there, as long as there's still an addiction problem, which there's gonna be for a while with a lot of things, it can get in there, and this notification process, I think, is a good step to make sure everyone at least knows what's going on.
I like this, I think it's a good thing. I like the transparency, I'd like to be a co-sponsor
I would love to have you. Thank
on
you
both
very
the
much.
resolution and the law.
I had a couple of questions. I do support the idea of the bill. I just want to understand some of the thinking behind how it's structured. Any estimate how many applications per year come through the county?
I have no idea,
Okay.
because we don't know. I actually reached out to the County Department of Mental Health,
Yeah.
and I left, I believe it was 2 messages,
Okay.
asking for the meeting minutes and the names of the members of, and, for the Community Services Board and for their subcommittee, and I never got a response. So therefore, I want to know about these things.
Yeah.
Their minutes also, these are committees that should be having open meetings. Their minutes, their agendas, they are not on the website, which is something we should also address.
Okay. What was the thinking behind the certified mail? Just because from, it's a
so
thing
we
to process
had-
and get out the door and pay for, and they only have 10 days, and just, it might
Well,
be faster just to stamp and go. but-
we want to make sure that it doesn't just go picked up by a clerk,
Yeah.
and then we want to know that it was received. Unfortunately, the situation that I ran into, and I don't want to start criticizing elected officials in my community, I just don't want to do it, I just don't want it to happen again. Simply, had there been, a single individual that had been contacted in time who was going to ensure that the community was aware, we may be in a different situation right now. That's why.
My only, and I'm obviously for this, my only concern is the time turnaround to make sure that like 10 days, how to guarantee receipt, things like that, to make sure it's realistic for them to do it. But I think the basic concept perfectly fine, and the
It's just a mail within 10 days, it's not guaranteed that they have to, receive it.
Yeah.
They just have to, send it out within 10 days.
Can I ask one more question on that?
Sure, yeah,
Is there any way you could do a phone call? Because it's not a lot of people you would call with it, so it guarantees to get there within 10 days. Could you put that in that legislation?
I could add that they need to make a phone call too. I just would like them to see a copy of that application.
Yeah, absolutely,
Because
because
then,
somebody could say, I never
then
received
they
a
know
phone
what the
call.
company is, they know who the contacts are, what accompanied the application that I finally got a hold of were 4 letters of support.
Right. I'm reading through that, yeah.
One from a senator that does not represent the village of Manans. Another that just had the address of the facility on it with a building permit issued. Unfortunately, it had the village board's names in the upper right-hand corner. The building permit was not for Fusion Recovery, the building permit was for the strip mall and the owners of the strip mall who are in construction. The other one were 2 letters of support from the Capital Region Chamber of Commerce, which I'm flummoxed by to this day. One of which was a letter from a senior membership executive there that stated that the owner of this facility had 2 other facilities in the state of New York, which was not true. And in addition, was a great owner and had all the confidence that this would be great. It was a letter that to this day, they have not answered as to why this was written, if it was fraudulent, if it was not, I do not know. They just ended up saying, well, it's not an official letter to Oasis. So I just want to make sure that when there is a high-impact facility coming into someone's community, unfortunately, with these facilities, property values drop between 20 and 25% around them.
Wow.
It's not fair to the people. I have an entire community of people behind there, 30 feet behind there. And these are people who are, some of them have been county employees. They're just hardworking people with small townhouses and small single home, and that is their entire investment.
I understand.
So if I get a little snippy about it, you'll understand why.
I don't think you're snippy at all.
Oh, Mr. Green?
Yeah, if nobody has any other questions.
I have-
But-
Well,
I have a question still too, Mr. Green.
Okay.
Mr. Green, did you?
Oh, I thought
no.
you had quite, okay, yeah. No, I don't like that you create a lot of paper and certified mail and all that. I think this could be done by email, and you can have a return receipt to show that they got the email. And if you didn't, then you could call them. But I think this should be put on like a link. So, because sometimes people want to share this with other people and say, hey, I want you to see this. Then you have to create all the packets and send them out. I just, on our modernization theme, I just think it's better to have a link and have a receipt. And if you don't get the receipt email, then you'd call just to check to see why you.
What we could do maybe is they should get something in writing somewhere along the line. Because we want to make sure, because some people don't check their email. When somebody asks you to sign something, maybe a different thing. But I would like somebody to get something in hard copy. However, I see what you're saying. Maybe if there are accompanying documents, it'll say, please go to this website, here's what it says, etc. Of course, now we have to have somebody who's going to man that website. So, or that link, etc. So,
Well, couldn't it be a page in mental health, could just add a page to the mental health site?
we also want to make sure that these applications, documents, and these letters and everything, now that the people that are writing them, submitting them, etc., need to know that they will be on a public site. So
Yeah,
I think there's some questions to be answered there first. But I understand where you're coming from, Mark, completely.
Yeah, there's pros and cons
Mm-hmm.
both ways, Mr. Green.
Yeah, I think it's great.
in principle, I support it. The certified mail thing seems a little antiquated. Like, I don't know any process that really uses certified mail anymore.
The entire state of Tennessee does it.
The entire state of
Yeah,
Tennessee, well, they're
I'm
not
sorry,
gonna
the
be a
entire
model
state,
of,
the state of Tennessee, I should say, I should reframe it. This is the process by which they follow.
Yeah.
And the reason I found that out was because this applicant to Oasis had an application, certificate of need application in the state of Tennessee. And when I downloaded the entire packet on it, hundreds of pages long, it was certified mail to all the state representatives in regard to the facility.
Yeah, be that as it may.
Mhm.
I don't think certified mail is necessary. I think mailing is fine. Frankly, I think emailing should be fine.
My concern here is people getting it, and yes, we know that the mail works. My concern is people getting it, and I have to tell you, what we just went through was stunning in nature, in the lack of transparency and the deliberate lack of transparency. The state has a vested interest in these entities being out there. They do not care where they go. And unfortunately, communities such as the city of Albany, they changed their entire zoning. The state has flat out said, we are not in zoning, planning, building, nothing. We just approve the provider. That's up to the local community. But then we have smaller communities like a village that never anticipated this, ever. And now we have a 1 mile stretch of our only commercial corridor. And that's where it's going.
Yeah, how many of
And
these?
had we known,
Right.
I mean, it's $2 to certify something.
It's $3.
Well, this could be a
$3.
packet of 100
It's not a packet of
pages.
100 pages, it's just the application.
Just the application.
Yeah, yeah.
And supporting documents.
We can put the supportive documents online, people can call up and get them.
I mean, I think that
Whatever.
the bill say and supporting document, I'm just
We
trying to
could-
get a handle on
Listen, I'm
what's
happy to
being-
change it.
I'm not saying to, I just want to
I'm happy
understand.
to, I do have a concern about people receiving it.
Sure.
Because there aren't a lot of elected officials that want to take responsibility for one of these in their community.
Do you have a sense of how big these applications are? Like each individual one?
Well, the LGU report that we received was 3 pages. Pardon me, it was 2 pages.
Okay, is that the application?
That's not the
Because
application.
what the statute, what the proposed legislation says is
Yep,
that
it says the application.
everybody has to get a copy of the
Mhm.
application.
It's a notice of application, I believe.
Okay, well, this says the application.
Okay, we can change it to say notice of application.
Okay. It does say, it says and/or notice of application.
Mhm.
Okay, copy of the application and/or notice of application.
Notice of application.
All
We
right.
can change it to just be notice of application, that's fine.
Well, if it says and/or, then they would probably do the notice,
Yeah.
just because it's easier.
Mhm.
All right, I mean, look at, I don't know, how many of these things happen?
For Albany County, I don't know.
Okay, I mean, look, I
Could
said the
we
thing
get
about the
that from-
certification, but if
There's
this thing,
only,
if this
for
happens once every
example-
10 years, then fine.
Well, there are
Certified
2 methadone clinics in Albany County currently.
mail.
One is on Tudowit Street in the city of Albany, and the other is Camino Nuevo. The reason I said treatment facility and not specifically just methadone is because they apply for certain licenses. They do a conditional license, then they apply for the next, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why I said that. Now, Albany is saturated. They have absolutely fixed, to their credit, their zoning to ensure that these facilities are appropriately placed for the community. How many of these, they tend to like to go into communities that are low income, that don't have the resources to do anything about it. And
Who's they?
applicants, because they don't like to draw attention to themselves so much.
What's
We have
the-
2 of them in Albany County, and the rest of the county has none. This is now going to be the 3rd one within a 3 mile radius. they've received their 822 conditional approval now. Their next approval is to do MAT, and which is medically assisted treatment, which is methadone, Suboxone, and any of the other accompanying, medically approved treatments, which is where things start to get a little challenging for the community if it's not residential only.
One last question, what's the end if here? Like if the notice is not provided? I didn't catch anything in the proposed legislation.
Well,
that
somebody
would-
has an opportunity, I mean, we could give somebody a private right of action here, but I'm not sure that that's possible. And I don't think we can, apply fines to, the
Oasis.
the department,
or the-
well, no,
I'm sorry,
to our own Department of Mental
Yeah.
Health. So, I guess we have to trust them to follow the law. But it does give somebody the opportunity to file an Article 78 if the law is not followed, who is a private resident or, even a
Mhm.
municipality.
just from the point of view of mental health department, I would just want an idea of how many FTEs it would take. I doubt there's 10,000 applications a year, maybe there's 2 or 4 or 5, or maybe they're 2 pages long or 100 pages long. I'm not gonna hold this up for that, I just think it'd be good to get a handle on that, maybe through internal channels or something.
Happy to
just
do it.
Understand
We're happy to do it.
question or motion?
So just, I guess, a little bit of a,
No, it's still.
Yeah, also.
It's a suggestion, actually,
Yeah.
hope constructive.
Go ahead, no, please.
No,
Mr. Burke.
actually, when I raised my hand before, I was gonna suggest email. And I've heard what you said, but email today is, if you wanna notify me, you have a record of it, that you sent it, I get it like this, and you don't have to worry about 10 days, you don't have to, the people that you want to get the information, and there are lots of them in this. I mean, in your construct, it'd be a mayor, it'd be trustees, it'd be state legislators, both sides. It would be county legislators, people on the side. There'd be so many people involved
That is my phone, I am so sorry.
that would get a notice,
Nice ring notice.
that it would be hard to believe that you don't have,
It's probably my children. Sorry about that.
no, that's okay. Been there, done that. It's just hard to believe that, I understand the problem you
Maybe we
have,
could
and
do-
that's,
We could do email if we scan all the documents in, to make sure that they have a copy of
it's
the
the
documents,
Department
which
of
is
Health
fine.
who's making the notifications, right?
Mental health.
They've got to, I gotta believe they don't have a cabinet with these things, that they actually have, our Department of Mental Health has
We certainly
electronic
could.
stuff, maybe. So it would seem to me, it would be to make the
The only
notifications.
concern that I have is I happen to work for a state legislator, he gets about 300 to 500 emails a day. We do miss things occasionally.
Okay, well,
However, if they don't receive a read, maybe, to Mr. Grimm's point, they don't receive a read receipt, then they get a phone call.
yeah.
If we
I
want to
just-
adjust it that way, listen, I'm, anything just to get this
I was
information.
just
to
encouraged to
people,
hear
because I
everybody
really-
going
I
down
gotta
the
know
same
next.
path with
It was coming to your community so that you could be
Can I say
prepared.
Sure.
I actually like the idea of certified mail, because it really flags the importance of the item. And I think email also could be a second vehicle by which it's also sent. I am not a state legislator, but I certainly get thousands of emails sometimes a day, and I sometimes miss things. I never miss certified mailings, ever.
Yeah.
And I think that then you get the return receipt back, and an email is,
Only if you ask for the return
The
receipt.
return receipt is actually
Certified is
separate.
just certified.
oh yeah, I don't know if she has a certified mail return receipt or not, but anyway, I don't think there's any harm or any huge expense in mandating that it's certified mail, as well as email. Sometimes it's certified mail, first class mail, and email.
I we got one more item tonight, so I want to just wrap up as we can here.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion with a quick statement, that way I can do all of those together, but
Mr. Ricardo, did you have a subject?
I was just gonna say, could she just add, Ally, via certified mail and electronic mail? Just add that, and electronic mail.
Fine.
I'll, listen, to get this done, I will do whatever you want, how
No,
about
yeah.
that?
Just say via certified mail and electronic mail. That's all you gotta say.
All right,
So
and
that's
then it says, right now it says a copy of the application and or notice of application from OASAS along with any accompanying documentation. Let's just make it a notice of the application.
Notice goes by certified mail, the rest of it is email.
Okay,
How's that sound?
that's fine.
I'm good with that, I'm fine with it. Just so they know, it will be coming via email.
Okay.
just a quick thing, I would just also say, like, while this is an important step and notification's great, we do need to advocate on a state level for two quick things. One, to stop concentrations of sort of these facilities in one location. It ends up overburdening things and stuff like that, and the state goes wherever the easiest route is, and they tend to create mega facilities like we have on Central. The other thing is we need to allow for mobile methadone clinics, or people to be able to get it at local hospitals or things of that nature, so you don't have people from 6 counties over driving in, staying here, and things of that nature, which, again, the treatment's needed, we need to be supportive. We're actually creating worse infrastructure, because if you are traveling away from your home, you end up in an area which also may prey on people with addiction if it creates a sub-center. So I just want to put that out there, that this is not like an we need the treatment centers. We need to deal with the fact that there should be qualifications for where they're placed on the state level, and how concentrated they are.
Okay.
May I just say one quick
Well,
thing?
So are we gonna
Yeah.
table and request a sponsor for amendments?
I will happily make the
Those
amendment.
public
That's
hearings.
requested.
So we can, this is just a public hearing, so we can make those changes
Yeah, so I-
before
Okay.
the public
Yeah.
hearing.
I'll make them tonight.
Second.
I'll respond to that mobile thing really quickly, is that when I spoke to this provider, he is a for-profit methadone clinic. His business model is $2 million of profit a year.
Right.
As soon as I said, why aren't you doing a mobile methadone clinic? No, they make it so they have on-site outpatient treatment, so they get them there.
Okay.
And it's a huge moneymaker for them. And he said, and I quote, "I don't want to talk about those things."
Fair.
That's.
All right, so we
that's-
have a
Yeah, I-
motion
Motion.
and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? No, okay. Last item of substance here is item 9.
A public hearing for local law G, a local law of the County of Albany, New York, amending chapter 242 of the Albany County Code to prohibit the use of that's a mistake there, smoking and vaping of tobacco or cannabis products at county properties and in county vehicles.
Ms. McLean?
Just trying to add cannabis in specifically now because it is legal, I think, just trying to specifically name and put cannabis in to ensure that we do not have cannabis smoked on county property. I actually happen to walk through every day on the MVP Center walkway between the concourse, excuse me, I've been a little under the weather today, the concourse and the parking garage, and people are actively and openly smoking marijuana in it almost daily.
Any questions? Yes, Mr.
Does this include edibles?
I wanted it to include edibles. This was not my first iteration of this.
Smoke?
You don't smoke in
I mean, you can try it.
Should.
My first iteration was all
There's some people who might think they could, you know, I mean,
it. It doesn't include edibles.
I mean,
I don't want edibles either.
but, you know,
But that doesn't affect other people like smoking does.
Right.
Smoking, you walk through the smoke.
no,
You
but,
smell
you know,
it.
having a glass of wine at Lawson Lake doesn't really affect other people either,
Yeah.
but we've made a policy decision that we don't want anything there that impairs anybody's judgment. So if you use the impair the judgment test, do you want to allow people, I mean, I just,
To
what is
be
it?
clear, that's not the test. The rule at Lawson's Lake is it's alcohol permitted via special use permit. As long as you get permission, you can have alcohol at Lawson's Lake.
Yeah,
So it's not anything about impairment or anything.
This policy, I think this policy specifically, I think, to this policy.
Just to
Is to say that, like, you know. if
keep
you-
the air clean.
At a minimum, because you know, we don't really have a good way to decide to randomly test for edibles either, or something like that.
Okay,
Give
but
me that gummy bear.
I assume we have something in our county,
You can't be
Rules
intoxicated
of-
or otherwise under the influence on
Of-
county, as an employee on county
right,
property.
okay, so that's covered
That's
that
how
way.
I-
Okay, all right.
So I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
This is unanimously. Are we
I
done?
feel like the nanny now.
Yeah, 10 and 11 are tabled pending public hearing.
Motion to close?
Motion to close. Second, all in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Great.
You made it 6:30.